Welcome back, guys.
Hey!
Here we are, another different background.
We're going to just change it up on you.
The mysterious door behind us. What could it be?
All right, so we don't have very many movies this week. We actually were on a technology strike this week. So we didn't have any technology going on in our house for almost the entire week.
Yeah, we used a Flintstone car and everything.
Ha! No, we didn't do that. But we weren't watching movies. So we did watch one last night. And then we started a second one. And there's 11 minutes left of the movie. But we'll talk about what we've seen so far and what we've observed and what we think the ending will be. And then next week we'll share.
We can share the ending.
The ending and the rating.
And our opinion of the end of the ending.
So this will be a short live, y'all, but that's okay.
I gotta say that the ones that we picked happened to be, I thought, pretty enjoyable ones.
Yeah, they were different.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is Geostorm from 2017. This is a Gerard Butler movie, which I really like him.
Yep, one of our first episodes was The Ugly Truth.
Yep.
Which, of course, had that in
Featured
it.
him and Katherine Heigl.
Yeah. So he is a pretty well-rounded actor.
He is. He's good. He's a lot of fun to watch, just in general. I like his facial expressions, and he kind of, I don't know, doesn't hide.
You can see too much of his facial expressions in Phantom of the Opera. At least when he had the mask on. But he plays such a wide variety of roles.
He does.
He's fun to watch. I agree.
So this one was about, well, obviously natural disaster, but it was caused by a machine that Gerard Butler's character actually built to control the weather.
And so I'm wondering if, these science fiction movies have a lot of ideas out there that sometimes we see come to fruition and sometimes not. I wonder if one day they'll come up with something like this.
I wouldn't be surprised if there already was something like this.
That helps manipulate weather by throwing in some kind of counteraction to stop the things. So similar to the concept of what they did in Twisters, they came up with a way to stop the tornado, to completely diffuse the tornado so that it would...
Yeah. And the machine that they built was called Doughboy.
Dutch Boy.
Doughboy.
Doughboy. Like Pillsbury Doughboy.
Dutch Boy, you're right. Okay.
Which is a kind of paint brand, isn't it? Isn't Dutch Boy a paint brand? But they said it had to do with some story where a boy put a finger in the hole of something to stop a leak. Something like that.
So
a Dutch Boy, yeah.
Basically, you see, they showed from outer space the world, and the world is completely encased with these satellites.
You ever seen the Epcot Center ball? It kind of looks like that, I don't know, or like those playgrounds, those dome playgrounds that are like the monkey bars, except all around the Earth.
Yeah. And so they controlled all of the weather in the Earth from these satellites outside of the Earth. And they had a main space station, or
international.
Yeah, the way that's how that was kind of the man ship, the main one that kind of ran everything. So it got taken over. It got into the hands of somebody corrupt. You have to watch it and find out who.
Yeah.
But somebody corrupt took it over.
Yeah, I can't remember why it was going to get taken out of Gerard Butler's hands and transferred over to not one person, but it was going to be owned by the world. It was going to be managed by a small group of politicians.
They said he was taking too many liberties with running it.
So we saw this with the Avengers Civil War, where, they did a lot of damage doing things. Oh, hey, Golden Age.
Hey.
And then so the use of the Avengers was controlled by now a government entity. And so something similar happened here.
Deal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it got in the hands of the bad guy.
Yeah.
And so he was planning destruction of the world. This major geostorm that would take out
the enemies, I guess.
Millions of people, of who he considered enemies.
Exactly, who he considered enemies. And then, that was...
something.
It's like the Pinky and the Brain plan, right? They always wanted to take over the world, so that was the plan with this guy.
So Gerard Butler's character regained control of Dutch Boy. I was going to say Doughboy.
So there was
but you have to watch and find out how.
I feel like his younger brother, so there was some bitterness between the brothers. I feel like his character was always on edge. Like, he was always on speed. He was always very anxious. There never seemed to be a calm moment with the younger brother. Would you agree?
Yes.
I liked the special effects were pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. The destruction, the storms that were happening were crazy.
Yeah, multiple tornadoes, massive tsunamis,
sandstorms, all kinds of stuff just happening in different parts of the world.
Oh, and much like the day after tomorrow, things were freezing instantaneously, including people.
Yeah.
Those poor beachgoers, all of them just would always get frozen.
Right. And then there was middle of the desert, and this ocean wave comes up and takes over the desert. It was crazy.
But the boy found his dog.
The boy found his dog. So you got to watch and find out what we're talking about with that. But it was definitely a good movie. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. It kept us interested and curious what was going to happen.
Yeah. I couldn't exactly tell what was happening in the beginning because it almost looks like there was some fishy business going on with one specific person. But it was... like she said, it kept our attention pretty good.
Yeah. So I would probably give it an 8 out of 10.
I agree. I think all the performers did a pretty good job. There wasn't really one that I disliked.
Yeah. Again, nothing stood out to me as far as terrible acting or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was fine.
The little daughter was pretty funny.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun to watch. So that would definitely be a recommend from us.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the other one that we started watching, but we haven't finished, we have 11 minutes left, is called Knowing from 2009. This is a Nicolas Cage movie. So Nicolas Cage is another one of those actors that is pretty diverse. He can pretty much pull off any role.
He seems to have the same tone of voice.
He does.
All the time.
All the time.
Because, him and, Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park, when people impersonate those guys, they're able to impersonate them because they have the same sort of personality, or they bring their own specific flair to the screen.
Yes, we have little chicks.
Can you hear that?
We do. We have right now 11 baby chicks. 3 are for another friend who is on her way to come pick them up. 4 of them are for one of our pastors. We raise them until they're old enough to go outside for him, and then he comes and takes them. And then we have 4 that we are keeping and adding to our crew. So it's a lot of fun. So yes, if you hear little baby chicks in the background, that's what it is. They're too small for us to show you, but maybe by next week they'll be big enough for us to show you.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, Knowing. So natural disaster. I don't know if it would be tagged under that now.
When we were reading the description, it talked about disasters, and so I think they're more like tragedies rather than natural disasters.
Yes. Just random catastrophes happening and killing people.
Yeah.
So not weather-related natural disasters. So we had thought that's what we were going to be getting, but as we're watching this, it's more like predictions of the end of the world.
So I did like how the story unfolded. It was a school from 1959, and the project was to put together a time capsule of pictures of what kids thought the future would be like. And then 50 years later, they were going to open it. They had a whole ceremony on burying the time capsule. It was this nice metallic canister that looked like it was going to preserve the contents
and
really
it did.
well.
Everything looked well preserved to have lasted 50 years.
And they gave it it's not a sewer lid, but I don't know what you call that. It was, and they had a nice decorative lid for it on the road.
So what they put in a capsule was all of the kids colored a picture, except for one little girl. Her picture was just a sheet full of numbers, just covered the sheet with numbers.
Yeah.
And so the teachers thought she was just a little off, and they took it and sent it in the time capsule anyway. So this little boy, Nicolas Cage's son, found or got that letter.
Yep.
And brought it home. And so Nicolas Cage started looking at it and suspected that there was more to it than just random numbers on a page. He, being a scientist, decided to continue digging, found that the numbers had meaning.
And he was a teacher at MIT, and part of the movie showed his class, and he was talking to them about determinism and randomness, maybe how things came to be, and he wasn't really sure where he stood. And so he tried to make sense of these numbers, and he started out with dates. And he just started using the internet to search these dates to see what would happen. And sure enough, he found lots and lots of, events that have happened over the past 50 years.
He found that some of the numbers were coordinates also. So he was able to pinpoint when the next catastrophe was going to happen. And he actually was an eyewitness to the catastrophe. He saw it happening.
Yeah, it was a 2
plane
month
crash.
A 2 month day, 2 month year. Month, day, year, and number of casualties. And then, the coordinates.
It's crazy. So he was seeing, and as he kept digging with these numbers, realized that the numbers were predicting the end of the Earth. There was going to be a solar flare that was going to come and destroy mankind.
So I would say that was the impending doom for this particular movie. Yeah, a solar flare event that was going to affect the whole, kill everybody.
We're suspecting alien activity, but we can't really speak on that a whole lot yet because we haven't seen the end. So we need to watch the end and find out what's going on. But we definitely saw alien angels.
Yeah. They had angel-like wings.
Come down and get the kids.
And there were just a handful of kids that were tapped to hear these voices in their head.
I would suspect that each of the ships had a boy and a girl. Mm-hmm. And there were several. There was probably a dozen ships.
Yeah.
That came down and took kids from around the world. So they were preserving human life because the solar flare was going to make humans extinct otherwise.
So that's a little bit of a twist. Normally when we see extraterrestrials, they are, I guess E.T. falls into that too.
Yeah.
He was a friendly one.
Yeah. These were friendly.
They were friendly.
Just odd.
And creepy. Misunderstood by humans because they didn't say anything. They did to those that they were calling to. Yes.
No one else could hear them. Only those that could hear the whispers.
Yeah.
So we can't really rate this one yet. We have still 10 minutes left. Who knows what'll happen in the last 10 or 11 minutes. So we will finish up on that one next time.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it for sure.
So far.
Yeah, it kept my attention. I wanted to see, whoa. I like that. Maybe I want to watch another movie with numbers.
Of course you do. And aliens. That's his thing. So anyway, we'll get a bunch more movies in for you this week. We've got a lot of family home time this weekend. It's been really nice. So we're going to hopefully knock out several movies this weekend.
We'll try to crack out another one or two tonight. We'll see.
Yeah. So sorry it's short this time, guys, but short, sweet, and to the point. So we had one great movie for you to watch, Geostorm. So check out Geostorm. It's a lot of fun, and I love Gerard Butler, so he's fun to watch.
But before we go...
Oh, yes. Like, subscribe, and ding it! All right, guys. We'll see you on Tuesday for our Tuesday movie review. We're on 100, and I don't even know it.
114 is coming up, I think.
There we go.
Getting bigger and bigger, guys.
All right.